Hey everyone, Corey here coming in to do the energy update for this week. We are now on Wednesday. Wednesday. This is Wednesday, so this is going to be like our weekend energy update the rest of the week and into next week. It's the 18th. So it is June the 18th. And so I'm not going to lie, today's energy is very raw. There's a realness in the energy that is undeniable and it's hard not to see. It's like sometimes you just can't deny life. Well, life right now is looking us right in the face, and it has a real and it has a rawness, and it has such a what's always there is an uncertainty. It's like we live on fragile glass, and so it's like that fragile glass is like it's obviously fragile right now, and so there is some real fragile energy that is here. It's raw, it's real, it reveals what happens to humanity when unresolved is allowed to when we allow unresolved to continue, or we get so lost in ego, whatever it may be. But there's a truth in the energy right now, and it is speaking a truth, and we're seeing it on many in many arenas of life. And so it's happening on a political, we're seeing it with the possibilities of war, and I mean war is happening every day, but the possibility of the talks of being a bigger war, a World War III type of conversations that are happening out there in the in the world, and they're obvious things. um and so it feels almost like disappointing, like why do we have to get to this point, and why do things have to get to this point? And but there is also a needing to really clear the air, which is coming up with all these big storms, and we have a lot of storm cells coming in. I know where I am in Canada, in Alberta, there is so many storm cells right now, and it's like it's things need to be cleaned up and cleared, and finding resolutions. And so there is always when things can go really wrong, things can also go really right. And it's always out there. It's things can Even when things can go really wrong, things can also turn around and go really right. But we have a realness, and so there's a realness to this energy, and really feeling this realness, and there's um a dizziness, dizziness in the energy. It feels very like all over the place and scattered, but this is coming up with some of these big bold planets kind of intercepting each other, like really coming into each other's energy. And so it's like too many big powerful energies all in one spot usually leads to something that is that has the potential to cause a big storm. So we have the energy on the macro that can really truly be like can cause a big storm. Be aware of not getting into those arguments, not to get into those unnecessary fights with people. Be careful of becoming a keyboard warrior and then having to later kind of go, oh, why was I so triggered? Why did I let that get to me the way that it did? Why did I respond that way? And it's just like, be aware of that. Now, the other thing that's coming up in your own healing and your own resolution is maybe coming up. And so this is macro into micro. And just imagine bringing this into the micro, into yourself, and into your inner self and into your world. And the places where we're at war with ourselves, in the things that we kind of made okay that were never okay. And so this is the part of the healing that brings up that where we're kind of forced into making peace where we should never have had to make peace. The things that we just kind of said, oh, it's okay, but you've really lived with the after effects of what some of wrongdoings, and how those wrongdoings have affected you, and how people may have, in backwardness, kind of said, oh, well, I may or may not have done this to you, but would never throw their own selves underneath the bus, even though they felt okay to throw you under the bus, or to cause you physical, emotional, mental disarray within yourself, to disrupt your world, to kind of cause losses within your life in your world, like it could be financial, it could be emotional, it could be anything. And you're now finally kind of feeling the wound, like feeling that hurt kind of coming up and just saying, you know what? No, I don't have to, I don't have, and it goes back to my last week. And I'm like, you don't have to play nice. It's like, I don't have to behave the same way. I don't have to match the energy. And that's the key with all this energy is it can't be matching. It's not a mirroring of the image. It's to actually break the freaking mirror. It is to not to match that energy. It's to not to become that. It's to become a polar opposite to that. So where there is hate and where there is war, there can be love. And now I really truly live in recognizing, like, for me, spiritually growing, healing, evolving, emotional healing, growing, evolving wasn't in pretending shit is not real. It was in recognizing the realness that really is out there or what really happens. It's in knowing that darkness really exists and that there is demonic, there is a real presence of that, and that really does, and it's not in our minds, it's not in our heads, there's a realness to it. And so it's not a pretendness, right? And so it's recognizing truth and finding that truth, and not having to just pretend I'm happy, or not just having to pretend I'm okay. And that, I said, that's what I, for myself and my healing. So that's what I got tired of doing. I got tired of putting the face on. I got tired of pretending. And so now it's at this higher level of awareness where we are, of where we're just like, you know what? I'm ready. I'm ready to finally be my voice. I'm ready to finally say no more. I'm finally ready. And it's like, when this is where we are experiencing something, like things happening in our lives, of where um the archetype of energy that maybe you thought you had to be, so having to always be the nice one, or to be the peacekeeper, or to be the one who always, backs down, or just says it's okay, those characteristics of that archetype is the part that is being challenged right now. Or if it's on the other side of that, the one who's always being the shit disturber, the one that's always being the one who steps forward first to get into the arguments, the one who's always having to say what needs to be said. No one else is going to say it, so I'm going to say it. Like, those aspects of the archetypal energy of us, those are the ones that are in question, and where they came from, and why do we feel like we have to be that? And if we had to be that because no one else would be it, it's like, yeah, well, is it robbing me of my peace? What is that robbing me of? What does that keep me from being able to be in my own life? And so this energy does speak a lot about characters in our story. And, we don't have to keep playing the characters. We don't have to keep performing as the characters that people think we are in their stories. Or we don't have to keep keeping other people, at peace within themselves by holding in that deeper truth. And so there's a lot happening, and there's a lot going to be happening, and there's more even coming. And so even though we have this real threat energy, we also have what is not spoken about. And so the unspoken is the goodness, it is the love, it is the light, and that unspoken is the part that needs to get louder. And those pieces and parts of when we get louder, when light and love gets louder, when light and love starts to shine, it's like the sun shining on through the rainy day. And once the sun comes, everything gets pushed out of the way. The sun has the power and the heat of the sun. And when we put heat on that life, and when we let the light shine into where it needs to shine, it pushes out, and what needs to come out, and pushes out, like it's like a wound, pushes out the infection so that it can heal. Sometimes the cause needs to come up and out. So this level of healing is really about the cause. And so we've seen the effects of the cause, but we haven't dealt with the cause. And so these are areas of where it's time to look at the cause. What keeps causing this? Why do we get in this loop? Why does this continue? Why does this keep happening? Why is this always a go-to? Why is this always happening to me? Or why am I always experiencing this? It's because we haven't fully resolved it. And are we ready to fully resolve those things within ourselves? And so there is a great potential and possibility and a possible possibility that you can really truly move through this energy with knowing that this is an opportunity to really resolve within yourself, to resolve within your life, the places that, you may have said it was okay, that it's not okay. And it's not that you got to go backtrack and you got to go track people down, is that you become honest with yourself. And there's this radical honesty with the self that is asking us to really look in and look at the truth of that glass, look at the truth of that mirror. And I just keep thinking of like Mirror, Mirror on the Wall, Snow White. I keep thinking of Snow White scenario, and the Wicked Witch and Snow White story. And the witch was the jealous stepmother, right, of Cinderella, of Snow White. She was the problem, but she was not the problem, right? She was not the problem to the witch at all. She wasn't the witch's problem. The witch's problem went way deeper back than the Snow White who she focused it on. And it was her greatest fears. And her greatest fears came from a bigger story. And those bigger stories are no different. All fairy tales have a truth, and they all hold a bigger story. When we're only watching the story and watching the entertainment, we can't see that there is a great amount of symbolism. And it's the archetypal energy, it's the light and the shadow, and everything represents the light and the shadow, the hero, the villain, the victim, all plays out. Well, we have it all that exists within ourselves. And so discovering that within ourselves and within our lives is that we recognize that, this person really wasn't my problem. All these people were not really my problem. So why do I keep taking my stuff out? Why do I keep having to try to make somebody else feel a certain way, look a certain way in order for me to feel a certain way within myself? One scenario. Or why do other people do that? Why does that happen? And so recognizing that the greater hurt. So the greater cause, the greater hurt is the thing, even on a world scale, that we need to resolve. But getting there and kind of making an agreements upon it. So within ourselves on the micro, if all aspects of yourself can make an agreement to what it is that is the one source, the one root cause. This is also on the other end of that one root cause. Behind that one root cause is your one source, your one light, your one connection, your one essence of soul. But we create many facades, many false identities all around and overshadowing our one truth. And this is where we're beginning to peel back the layers to discover the one truth. What is the one truth? And so what is it? I heard this and I so love this because it ties into neurolinguistics programming as well, but it's war. War is we are right. We are right. And it's amazing how we can be at war within ourselves to be right. And how that inner hurt story becomes we are right, I'm right, and everyone else is going to pay the price. But the place that you really want to pay the price can never ever pay the price because the past is gone. The past is not here. And so instead of being so focused on paying a price, how about we focus on doing what is right? And sometimes doing what is right is to begin to stop destroying ourselves in a need to get revenge of some sort. And so it's an internal struggle, I guess would be a good way to put it. This energy is really truly bringing awareness to the internal struggles that tend to show up in our lives, that tend to be associated with our why somehow, and what's motivating us and what's pushing you and what's forcing your energy or forcing your hand. And imagine how simpler life would be without all of those things. And I always say, if someone ever meant their sorry, really meant their sorry, they'd announce it to the world, right? It's like in some way, you're just like, shit, like I really did that. I have that in me. That person does exist in me. I am so sorry. I feel so bad for that. Like I really do. There was a lot to be learned, and there's character in that. There's such strength in that. And it speaks volumes to who and what we really are. And so the card that comes up is the Two of Wands. And it's these decisions and choices, these healings, these resolutions, these healing of the root causes aligns us to then be able to maybe walk a different path, that we recognize that we have choices. We all have a choice. And our choices are what's really speaking to us right now, that we are being told to really look at our choices and to look at what we are really passionate about and what it is we're trying to get to. And so here's the analogy that I was just given. So if you look back here, here's a buck back here, right? He's a big deer or something back here. And so here's this man. So is his intention is all he focused on is getting here to kill the deer, or to get close to see the deer, to be able to communicate to the deer? Which path is he taking? And what thoughts are in his mind on the path? And so if his only focus is to actually kill the deer, that energy and the mishaps that may happen along the way, maybe that he reveals himself before he arrives as the hunter instead of just the man. If he comes over here and he's walking this path and his only thought is, I just want to observe. I just want to observe the deer. I just want to see the deer. I want to marvel in its magic, and I just want to see the deer. Then chances are he will get close enough to see the deer. But he will not when he gets there. If the deer runs away, he'll be grateful and thankful that he at least got to see the deer. Over here, he'll be mad that he didn't get to kill the deer. So he'll keep chasing and hunting and always hunting for what he didn't get. Whereas over here, he makes peace and moves on with something else to look at. With that, there's something else for me to observe. There's so much more for me to observe. I will simply just move on. I will simply just find something else. I'll find something else to look at. I'll find something else to see. I'll discover something else. And so there is always that opportunities. And, and so what I keep seeing and what I keep getting in these paths and choices is our intentions and what our intentions are. And what is our intention when we're making a choice? What is our intention when we're, even given an apology? Is your intention to set somebody else free or to set you free? Because the first thing we should want to do is, maybe in some situations, not all, don't come after me for this one. In some situations, is maybe it's about setting somebody else free. And when we can set somebody else free, we are set free, right? It's that sense of, if I'm only doing this because when we do wrong, we know wrong, right? That's our karma. It stays with us because we know that we did it for the wrong reasons. And so there is definitely some challenging energy with this energy, and it's speaking to us in a way to recognize, what is the motive behind the choice that we're making? What is our intentions? And, and what is it that I'm seeking to accomplish? What is it I'm hoping to achieve? So it's a time when our greatest achievements can also begin to reveal themselves. And it's when we can start to see how successful we have been or what we've already accomplished. We stop chasing it for the same reason. I have the Seven of Pentacles coming up. And so I have this like earthly sense of reaping the rewards is what I keep getting. I feel as if this is giving us the reaping of rewards. And if our reward is revenge, then our reward will never be satisfying. If our reward is satisfaction love, sovereignty, those type of things, then we'll be satisfied. We'll be content. We won't feel the need to rush forward, charge forward. And so it's recognizing there's so much of the good stuff out there for us. But why do we focus on so much of that? And then I have the King of Cups. And this King of Cups is bringing in emotional stability. And of course, we have this Saturn and Aries energy, which is going to be a big influence for a while, for a little bit here. And so that Saturn and Aries energy is Saturn is slow, methodical. Aries is more of a charge energy. It is faster moving. It's quicker thinking on its feet. But we are being told that even though in our heads we might want to be quick moving, we're being told to really put into check our emotions and what those emotional responses really are for us. And so this king is coming in its healthy version of the king, right? I just have this sense of like stepping in, knowing when our emotional connections and threads are resolved, when we heal the attachments versus healing the emotions. So it's like emotions and attachments are not the same. We attach our emotions to the attachments. And so when we can release those attachments and those cords of attachments, we release other people's energies. And that other people's energy is not ours. The world's energy that's happening is not my energy. It is what is happening, and we become it. We become a part of it. It is that weird phenomenon that when, if you put a bunch of mice in the container, and the mice will begin to like eat each other, right? If one goes frantic, every one of them goes frantic. And it's just like there's always that it's like that collective energy. And so being very aware that there is a frantic kind of energy, but to let the frenzy of the frantic energy to own you or consume you. But it's also very much speaking about the way to peace. And the way to peace does not come with causing more war. It doesn't come with moving farther away from peace. It comes with making peace. Making peace with what we can't change, making peace with what's beyond us, making peace with some people are the way they are. The world is the way they are. People have different beliefs. People have different systems, and that there is different ways to coexist. And so there is so much more that is at stake. Now, the energy is also bringing up the emotional, intellectual maturity that we're all here to learn during this time. Emotional stability also coming up. But we also have the effects of making a choice. So coming all the way back here. Coming all the way back here. So I want to come back. So the right choice, making the right choice for the right reason right now in life and where you are in life is telling us through the Chariot is that she is traveling, like we are on the move. And so she is going her way. She's taking all things into consideration. She has considered all things. She has considered all the advice from the wise advisor that she receives. And so your wise advisor exists in you. It's in your higher self. And so getting the advice and stopping long enough to listen to the self, and then knowing that the choice she's making is her choice, your choice, that you have made your choice, and your choice is right choice for you in this right moment, but you're making it from the right place. And so we're charging forward. Things are about to change. Things can change in a blink of an eye. Desires, outcomes, like be very careful of over planning and over committing at this time, because when something inside of us, once we clear the pathway and our divine expression begins to appear, then the path we're going or the direction we're going may be radically different. So if we've told everyone to wait at the finish line for us, they wait over here because I'm coming, is like you may not show up because you may end up on another path. You may end up on another direction. So the Chariot is telling me there's the major life events and the major shifts and changes are bringing about the path or the direction of the higher self. So I have this strong sense that, what could possibly be happening out the world is not going to happen the way that it has been portrayed in the stories, right? The stories that's being told, that there's going to be a different way or some sort of resolution, but it can't be a band-aid. It just feels like right now, everything we're experiencing cannot be things that are band-aid. And the same with our own lives. We can't keep putting band-aids on and not taking out the infectious thoughts, the infections of the heart, the mind. It is time to fully radical heal. And it's a radical self-healing. It is a movement. We have come to the end of a story. We have a death story, and it's 111. We have a death story, so we have an ending, and this is where peace begins to come in. So it's after the fight. It's after everything has taken place. And this is, you look around, we see all the collateral damage, but we see what is needed. So now we're beginning to see what is needed for your own personal healing, to really stop being the character or playing the character role that you've had on replay over and over and over again. Stop looking, that you're no longer looking into how another is causing all of the problems and why you're not where you are, whatever that is. But there's just so many areas of life where it just says, oh, I can see this now. And I can see my own role. And in seeing my own role, I can see what I have to do. And I can see what I need to do. And so there is when we think things are going to get at the absolute worst, there is often a bit of spark of light coming in. And that spark of light is coming in to remind us that once light enters, once the divine enters, anything can change and anything can happen. And so I do feel like there's a radical shift or change. Now, do we see the worst before we see the better? Sometimes, right? It's in any of the healing. The healing was not all sunshine and butterflies, as I had to kind of see the worst to see the best. And I had to see the worst of myself to see the best of myself. And I had to see the worst in others to see the best in them as well. And so I had to see the worst through different eyes, though. It wasn't through the eyes of pain and hurt. It was to see it through the eyes of God, through the eyes of the divine. And when I could see through the eyes of love, and when you can begin to see through the eyes of love, and even seeing yourself through the eyes of love, you begin to treat yourself differently. What you're passionate about before, what was, an obsession before, now becomes a fizzled out, and now a new passion, new desire, and the passion of love and the passionate sense of self to really, truly move into really not being afraid to look in to see, what do I need to see? The most courageous thing we could do is see us, to see ourselves, to see our own, how we contribute. What is that needs to change in my ability to keep fanning the flames that need to simmer down. And so it is bringing a great opportunity. This energy is a great opportunity. And could this lead us to like some really difficult times? Yeah. But could it also lead us to some real, like the best times of our lives? Yes. And I truly believe, with everything I'm seeing, with everything I'm being given, that we are on our way to some of the best times, and some of those best energies. The best energy is waiting for us to utilize it, to dance in it, to celebrate with it, to use it to our advantage, and to bring joy and light and love back into our lives, and on a world scale, on a macro, that there's joy, love, and light coming back in as well. So is this serving my soul? Is this really serving my soul, or is this serving my ego? Is this serving my hurts? Is this serving my pains? Or is this serving my light, my love? Which one is it? And which one would I rather for it to be? I send you so much love. Have a beautiful day. And you may feel very tired in this energy because it is exhausting. So do take time to rest. Do know that this is like a major ascension. We are evolving, we're growing, but we're also traveling through some real dense heavy energy. But we can get there. Persistence, commitment, loyalty, and dedication is what's going to move us. I send you so much love. Have a beautiful week. We'll chat soon.